Hi. I'm never sure if this thing has started. You gotta push it again. Happy New Year. This is the last vlogmas post, the last daily vlog, and I missed yesterday, and I'm sorry. Let me see what happened yesterday. Well, I spent the morning in a fog. I woke up feeling really horrible, and I'm blaming the medicine I've been on. Then I went and ran errands, and I think what really tired me out was racing 2 blocks to get to a store before they closed, only to find out they were open late. So I raced in the cold, and oh, my cold intolerance when I'm on that chemo is just, you gotta heat up all your beverages, or it's like drinking fiberglass. If my face, any part of my face gets cold, or my hands, like they start doing these weird twitching, cramping things, like involuntary twitches and cramps. I get pins and needles in my fingers and my feet and even in my skin. It's just gets to you. And today I am depressed. I didn't get up until 9 o'clock when I finally said, okay, Yolanda, you can't just keep laying here forever. It's one of those mornings, and, okay, Yolanda, you have to make breakfast because breakfast has to happen. You'll only feel worse. So I made breakfast, and I ate breakfast, and I'm like, oh, why do I even have to be alive? But, it's on the plus side, now that I no longer get PMS, at least I know that it's circumstantial, and I can figure out a solution to depression. Back when it was PMS, it was something you just had to wait out. But now it's like, okay, I could do something to cheer myself up and it'll work. The dog helped a lot. He's just so darn cute, He gets up in the morning and he's like, oh, are you making bunny food? Can Birdie Greens, can I have a piece of broccoli? And you give him broccoli and he's like, oh, I'm so happy. And he jumps around. So he's a real cheer maker. And when it's PMS, nothing cheers you up. But when it's circumstantial, anything cheery helps. Here's my warmed up water. I bet it's already cooled down to room temperature. Yeah, it's already making needles on my throat to drink it, so I'll have to warm that up again. I figured for my last blog post, I'm just running out of ideas. Well, it's hard to think of ideas when you're depressed. I mean, But I saw one on the YouTube there, top 5 useful 3D prints, and I thought, hey, why don't I show you folks what I've made on my 3D printer? Because one of the big questions I always get when I tell people I have a 3D printer is, what do you do with it? And I explain, you make toys, you make tchotchkes, you make phone cases, you make repair parts. And so I thought I'd show you guys some things. I just went around the house and kind of grabbed a few things that I'd made on my 3D printer. Now, we didn't make a whole lot in the last year or so because the extruder head, we have a MakerBot Mini, and MakerBot's extruder head had a manufacturing flaw. So we went through, the first extruder, we got a good year's worth of printing out of it, and then it started to jam its filament constantly. It was like the little switch that tells it whether or not the filament is there got weak and wouldn't press anymore, and so even though it wasn't jammed, the thing just would stop in the middle of a print, and it always waited until it was about 20% into the print, and then it would jam, so you waste plastic, and then you'd fix it, and you'd go, and it'd go for another half an hour, and then jam again, and it was screwing up the prints, and it was a real nuisance. So we bought another one. We figured, okay, I've printed a bazillion things, I've worn it out. So we got another one, and even brand new, it started doing exactly the same thing. Jam, jam, jam. So, Dan would get in there and fiddle with it, and he'd get it working, and then I'd run it on my machine, and it would just immediately start jamming. And there's a problem, and we don't know what it is. It was just reporting error after error and stopped printing, so I kind of quit. And then MakerBot came out and said, well, yeah, actually, we screwed up, and our 3D printer head has a machine flaw, so everybody's already bought one. We're going to give you a deal. You can have it for half price for 90 days. And well, that was the 90 days when I was going to the ER and half dead, and we were severely worried about me, and we were getting the cancer diagnosis. I think the last thing on our mind was replacing our printer head. Plus, it was the middle of winter at tax time when we frankly didn't have any spare money. So we finally got a new printer head for it this August, and I've been able to print a few more things, but I haven't got any ideas. So hang on a minute. Well, I'm going to pause because I'm going to grab something off the shelf that I'm going to show you as one of my 3D prints. Are we back on? Yep, we are. Okay. This, in fact, was one of the first things I ever printed. I thought everybody needs a pick-me-up, and I was feeling unappreciated by the people around me. And I was feeling like, you know, no one's ever going to reward me for all of the good things I do in life, and nobody but me actually knows how often I stand up for right and do something that's right and be a hero. So I thought, well, that doesn't mean I don't deserve a medal for being a hero just because no one else has noticed. Doesn't mean that I haven't done heroic things. I haven't been a hero, and I don't deserve a medal. So I printed myself one, and I painted it. And anytime I'm feeling less important, I can look over at it and remind myself that you don't have to be recognized by others to be a hero. You just have to know that you have made the hero's choice. So, that. And I don't really feel like I need it all that bad, so it's going to be one of the things I give away this winter. So watch for that giveaway, because why not? It's a fun thing to get in the mail, yes? But it's going to require, so you're going to have to pay attention, tell me why you deserve a hero's medal. That's not today. That'll be another day. So that was one of the first things I printed. And in fact, one of the very first things I printed was one of these lovely boxes, because I had this, I was loving the nail polish. I was loving the shimmer and the shine of nail polish. I was just getting off on it. But my fingernails, not so much. Plus, it seemed a real waste. I'd put it on my fingernails and I'd peel it off within 2 hours. My nails would get dry and brittle, and it was just such a tiny area, you really couldn't appreciate it. So I thought, well, what can I 3D print in plastic? And I made a Christmas present for someone and went, that's what I can 3D print. I can 3D print these lovely boxes. So I made up a whole bunch of lovely boxes, and I signed them and numbered them, and I thought, Christmas is coming. It was summer. I printed up, I think, 20 or 30 of these for Christmas. And none of them sold. I think, no, I think I sold 3. Anyway, they didn't sell as well as I wanted. Well, that one's number 42. So I printed up quite a few. Oops. Now it's out of line. They all line up a certain way because, you know, they were painted. Yeah, that's the way it lines up. It's got a little winter snow tree on it. It's got snow on the bottom with gold leaf. Never even noticed that flaw. But when you get a flaw like that when you're applying gold leaf, there's not a lot to be done. You either scrap it or live with it. It's got the northern lights on it. It looks a little better in person. But this is all gold leaf. A little cheap little crystal rhinestone on it. This one here is one of my favorites. I called it Let's Start a Riot, because it looks like a riot of colors. Let's start a riot, start a riot. It just reminds me of a punk song called Let's Start a Riot. So that's what I named it. Isn't that wonderful? This was done by dropping nail polish onto water and then dipping the box. And I think this one had about 3 dips. Plus, after they're painted, they get another 5 coats of lacquer because I'm trying to get some depth to the shine. And in person, with the 3D eye, you know, you're looking at them in person, it's just, yeah, I could just stare at these crazy things all day. Some of the ones I've kept for myself. This one's Red Dragon on the bottom. Is a dragon. Can you kind of see that's his head there, and his wing? Yeah, Red Dragon. And that one was 2 dips, I think. Dipped twice over a base coat of glitter. This is a lovely box. I designed these myself. I didn't download them from Thingiverse like the other items I've been showing you. These I actually created myself in a 3D app and then printed and painted. So this one I called Pollock because it was inspired by Jackson Pollock. And the little squares on it are actually downloaded and printed travel stickers from steamer trunks that I then painted over top. And in fact, this one, with unfortunately broken feet, I have to repair it. This one was the first one I ever did. And you can see it's got steamer trunk stickers all over it. And it holds let's give you an idea of what you can do with these. It holds all my memory cards and USB sticks. Nice and handy right up front. I always know where to find them, on the desk. And this is one of those ones that's a catch-all for crap that you got floating around. In fact, this is, I printed too many pegs for my Roman dodecahedron. Oh, that is actually the most recent thing I printed. Let me pause the video again and I'll go grab it for you. So a Roman dodecahedron is something I saw on the internet, that apparently these little brass objects were found all over northern Europe. Sometimes they had wax in them, so they might have been a candle holder. And frankly, nobody's quite figured out exactly what the heck they were for. But one person noticed that it seems like you could use them to knit gloves. You wind your yarn around these pegs and then knit from peg to peg to peg, just like a knitting machine, and drop the finger holes in, and each one of these different sized holes represents a different sized finger. You pick the right holes for your fingers and you knit your way around and make gloves. And I thought I'd like to try that, and I haven't yet, but I had a lot of fun printing and making the device. Isn't that cool? One of the more practical things, in fact, one of the first things we ever printed that was practical, we have this thing called a boogie board, and the clip on it wore out. The clip, this piece right here, wore out and stopped working properly. There. And rather than try to buy or order a new one, Dan got out his calipers, measured the old one, and made a new one, which now doesn't want to. I don't know. I'll deal with it later. It's not something to be dealt with on the video. I just have to get it clipped back on. So there's that. And then there were these. I thought these were really fun, and I tried to sell them too, but nobody seemed to. Nobody even looked at my stuff. So, you know, apparently hand painted is just too not worth spending the money on, or something. I think these were only about $5 each, so I don't know what the problem was. They didn't even look. You know, I had set myself up with my smart car with the back hatch open in a parking lot off the sidewalk of a busy retail street, with signage and all of my wares displayed with little folding chairs and tables, and people just looked at me like I was a homeless person setting up camp for the day, and I couldn't believe it. So I figured I'm just in the wrong city. This is an octopus eye. And as you can see, I actually printed off a bunch of them. I can't remember how many. Somebody with blue eyes. Don't know what kind of animal that was supposed to represent. Some kind of a fish. And this was a unicorn eye in my imagination. And inside, what they are is they're little capsules that you can use for pretty much anything. Mostly I use them for earbuds. But they screw together. See? Just like that. Isn't that neat? Print those off on your machine. Lots of fun. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of different ones. And another thing that I printed, I got into My Little Pony. I watched My Little Pony Friendship is Magic all the way through and just fell in love with the ponies. I just fell in love with them. I printed off this little Pinkie Pie, and she's cute. She's actually Pinkie Pie's little cousin or something. And then I found the whole set. The whole set. Oh my goodness, Pinkie's lost her tail. Yes, she lost her tail and it needs repair. Poor girl. Yeah, because the tail joint on these things is so fine. It's very easy to break off, and you'd have to like glue it and wire it to get it to stay. Little piece of wire. So we got Pinkie Pie, and I've already forgotten her name. Poor girl. And then we got these two. Her tail's kind of loose too, but it's not bad. And yes, I hand painted them all with teeny tiny brushes and nail polish. I'm using nail polish to do all my painting. Apple something. I can't remember all their names. I can't even remember the main girl's name. It's been a long time. And they're all covered in dust. See this one here? The tail broke off, so I put in a piece of wire to hold it. That one's Rainbow Bright, I believe. No, not Rainbow Bright. See, I can't remember their names. And lastly, the extremely vain fashion lady. Everything's all about being pretty, but she does beautiful clothes. She's the seamstress in town, and her tail also broke off and got wired, leaving it flexible. So, because part of the problem is they're not very well designed for standing up. among the other first things we made, I tried to do a Bugs Bunny, and the only Bugs Bunny I could find on Thingiverse was the one from Space Jam, I think it's called, or Spaceballs. I never even saw the movie. It was a really dumb movie with Shaq. So we got that Bugs Bunny. But we did find the very interesting monster. Printed that off. It's a very interesting monster. I always thought he was kind of cute. Oh my, aren't you a very interesting monster? So, and then I've only got one other thing to show you sitting here. But this was printed in clear PLA, and then I had a Christmas tree ornament base that had the color-changing LED in it, so I just using some sticky tack, because the two weren't meant to go together. In fact, this was supposed to be closed off at the bottom, and then there's a lid that opens and closes, but the bottom broke out because it was made for a better quality printer than what we've got. But by putting it on there, I just leave it on the shelf, and it's just a really cool, fun thing. I also printed off some really groovy rockets, a really groovy rocket that actually was the only thing that ever sold on Etsy. And I'm not going to try to splice in a photo of it because I'd have to hunt for the photo anyway. But it gives you a pretty good idea of some of the things we've made with 3D printing. If it's plastic, you can remake it. The only problem is designing the product. Now, Thingiverse, www.thingiverse.com, is an excellent source of free models. There's so many things on there. A lot of what you want might be found. That's where these boxes came from. That's where these guys came from, all these little figurines. And this is actually came with the MakerBot software. You can reconfigure it endlessly. It's a customizable object that the software does. So you can just pick and choose your bits and elements and put in your own lettering and create it and then print it. You can see on the back the print texture there, that it is in fact 3D printed, but by the time you put enough layers of nail polish on it, it no longer looks striated and printed. You know, I mean, the rocket shows the layers best. You can really see the layers on there. Now the new printer that we just bought and haven't assembled yet, it's not going to show the layers as well, because it's going to make finer. It's going to actually have finer layers than this. The MakerBot Mini actually makes quite thick layers, so you've got a lot more work to finish the work. You can really see the layers on this thing, and the new one actually makes finer printing details than that. And because it has a heated bed, we can use ABS plastic, which you could stick your plastic product. Like, you can make your print, and then you stick it in a paint can with acetone-soaked paper towels in the base, and a little something like a little raised, a jar lid or something to raise it up out of the acetone. You leave it in there for 10 seconds, and the surface literally melts smooth, and you can actually get prints as shiny as something you would have bought from Nintendo. So while I can't get the NFC chip, I could print off all the amiibos in the world if I wanted to. By the way, amiibos, waste of money. Seriously. What they do for you in the game isn't worth spending money on the amiibos. I am so disappointed that I wasted my money on this stupid thing, plus an NFC reader for my Animal Crossing game, because all it really does is gives me an option to buy his stuff. He shows up in the campground for a day, and you can walk into his trailer, and you can buy his songs, and you can buy his furniture, and who gives a damn? That stuff shows up in the game anyway if you're patient. So I was a little disappointed. I bought Reese and her husband, I can't remember his name, and KK Strider. They're my favorite characters of what was on the shelf, but I regret spending the money on them. It seems like a waste of money. And I'll probably turn around and sell these at some point on some secondhand market, see if I can recoup half my cost, because they're really quite pointless. And yeah, that's pretty much it. What can you do with a 3D printer? Well, when you look at what people do with 3D printed, I would say that 98% of what they print are little shelf decorations, things I call tchotchkes, the sort of thing you stick on a shelf and have to dust. Almost everything, that and phone cases, there's very little repair parts, there's very little practical stuff being made. It's out there, people are making practical stuff, but it would appear that what people really want, I kid you not, is toys. They want toys and decorations. I always thought little boxes made a lot of sense. They're very practical. You can fill them with all kinds of stuff. This one, for instance, is where I put my rings when I take them off when I come home, and any jewelry that I have to repair. I've got this gorgeous brooch that needs to have a leaf put back on, a petal put back on here, and it also lost a rhinestone. And that's just a case of me going and finding the right glue and doing the job, and, you know, hasn't happened yet, so it's still sitting there. So that is what you can do with a 3D printer. If you can dream it, you can make it. You know, and if it's a very large item, you might have to make it in bits and pieces and assemble it. This is all assembled out of little pieces. And if it's a small item, you can probably print it as a one-off, like this guy. He's just printed all in one-off, same as this guy, printed all in one. He's hollow. He's hollow inside. And do you want to get a 3D printer? You should. And if you're an entrepreneur, would you please start a chain of 3D print shops, just like the old photocopy shops that used to exist? Man, that would be handy. You'd have to get a scanner, you'd have to get several printers of different types, and you'd have to have a really good 3D model artist. But boy, there's money in it. People can come in with their broken parts, your 3D model artist can scan the broken part, repair it, and you can print off new parts in 1 or 2 days, compared to having it ordered and put on back order for, I don't know, sometimes years. I had a part on back order for 2 years that was made of nylon plastic that could have been 3D printed overnight. But the technology didn't exist back then. That was before computers were in every home. These days, there's no reason you should have to wait for a factory to tool up to make a run of parts, because there should be an entrepreneur, a store in every town, or every city at least, where someone has got a whole fleet of 3D printers humming. And, by the way, www.shapeways.com can print in even metal, like almost any material in the world. You can upload your three-dimensional design to Shapeways, and they will mail you the product that you have asked for, custom printed to you, to what you want. Anything from a little statuette of yourself that you've had made to that part you just can't order. They can actually work in metal. They can make jewelry. Check them out. Shapeways.com and Thingiverse, Thingiverse.com. Two really great supplies of 3D objects that you can download, you can print, you can have printed for you. Get into it. It's cool.